Hey everyone, it's Isaac from the Flutter Markup Language dev team. Today we are going to go over connecting to the hardware data source NFC, binding to data within red NFC tags, displaying multiple NFC reads in a data UI widget, and writing to individual tags using the write event. The list of data sources, both hardware and network-based, that FML can connect to is quite extensive, with endless possibilities for traversing and manipulating data. To get started, you will need an FML environment up and running on an NFC-enabled device. If you do not have this set up, you can check out the links in the description to do this locally, over LAN with XAMPP, or online using ngrok. If you have your own file server knowledge, you're welcome to use whichever method you prefer. As you can see, I'm running the FML engine in a downloaded app from the Play Store. Let's get started. First, we navigate to our templates folder, and here we see the default app templates. Let's delete the counter app and just use main. Open main in our text editor. I'm using VS Code. Let's clear the Flutter markup from the default app and start our own template by denoting the FML tags. Let's add in our NFC widget and give it an ID for binding. If you save this, your app will now read NFC tags. It isn't very useful to a user as we want to utilize the data on the tag for the application. So let's set up some text to bind to it. Now we add our binding to the NFC data widget with NFC Data.payload. We can also use NFC Data.data.payload. Each hardware data source has a preset list of bindables that are consistent for that data source regardless of data returned. In the case of NFC, that's ID, serial, and payload. Now we go back to our app and approach the tag. As you can see, our payload is displayed as a URL without any domain. The data source will automatically create bindings for each attribute on the URL in an NFC tag, as well as JSON and XML elements. For traversing data, you can check out our video on the REST API GET Datasource Widget and how to traverse data structures using data bindings. Let's bind to each of these attributes in the URL. Create a text with a binding of NFC Data.data.first, and let's do the same for NFC Data.data.second. Now we approach the tag, and as we can see, each part of the URL's value is displayed. Now, if we want to write to the tag, we can do this a few different ways. One is using NFC method equals write, and specifying a body in our NFC widget. In this case, we're doing a simple string write and do not need a complex body or multiple NFC widgets, so we will use the write event. Create a button to trigger the event. Now let's change each of our text fields to input widgets so we can input some writable data. Let's add some messaging to inform the user on what's happening, and we can use the toast event before the write in the onWrite success and in the onWrite failure attribute. Remember, the write event times out after 60 seconds of polling by default and will revert to reading if it has failed or timed out. Now we navigate back to our page, hit the button to invoke a write, approach the tag, and as we can see, we are prompted with a successful write. Now we approach the tag again, and we see the payload change to the updated string. If we would like to collect multiple NFC tags and display them automatically, we can use any data UI widget to do so. In this case, let's use list. We remove the button and revert the inputs back to text and apply our specific attributes to input. Now let's wrap our data in an item and a list, pass the list our data source with the data equals NFC data attribute, and we update the bindings within the list to be scoped properly. If we leave in the ID, it will only bind to the first element within our NFC data list, yet it will create a new list item every time. So simply, we use data.first, data.second, and data.payload. Now we give our NFC data source the query type of FIFO and a max records of 10. There are a few different query types, but FIFO removes the oldest item in the list and appends the new item to the end. Now, we navigate back to our page. As we can see, when we scan each tag, it adds it to the list with the correct attributes. We can control if duplicates are allowed, what is done with duplicates, and more using all of the attributes on NFC, which can be found in the wiki. And that's it for the overview. As you can see, at its most basic level, FML makes accessing and binding to hardware data from any source in any structure simple. To check out binding to other data sources, such as camera and get calls, as well as using detector widgets to display information such as barcodes, check out our Medium articles and other channel videos. For any questions or feedbacks, please leave it in the comments section below or join our Discord. The link is in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date as we roll out more content to help you build cross-platform applications using Flutter Markup Language.